All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the subcommittee meeting of the general government. The time is now 1:47. I'm calling this meeting into order. My name is Springfield City Councilor Victor Davila, Chairman of the pilot committee. This is a meeting of the pilot committee. Welcome to all of you. Today we have on the queue here, by no particular order, Mr. Council President Michael Fenton. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
We also hello, Mr. President. We also have Springfield City Councilor Click Bruce. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Also, we have committee member Jay Latorre. Good afternoon, Jay.
Good afternoon.
Yes, then we have from the finance team, Deputy CAFO Lindsay Hackett.
Hello.
We have Chris Frazier. Chris, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very well. And then here in the chambers, we have the CAFO herself, Madame, my God, I just turned blank. I apologize.
Kathy Bono.
Kathy Bono. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet. Totally drew a blank there. And of course, the one and only and the legendary treasurer, Steve.
Legendary, he forgot me.
Well, legendary doesn't mean good either, by the way. It just means.
So, good afternoon to everybody. My apologies, last meeting had to be canceled, but we are recouping today. A continued discussion of the new revenue sources here in the city. We did get messages from both Patrick Greenhall and Patrick Burns that will not be able to make it today. So I do believe we're going to start off with committee member Latorre, who has an update for us with regards to when we talked about the last meeting about using DLS, that is the Division of Urban Services, as it relates to possibly using some sort of grant funding sources to help us give shape to this committee or endeavor. So Jay, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, okay, hear you fine. Yep.
Okay, great. So as you alluded to, Mr. Chairman, I think that as we've been discussing the matter of, strategically pursuing pilots for the city, it's become clear that some outside assistance would be beneficial to the city. It's just it's a very complicated topic, and there's a lot of departments that are touched and impacted by the pursuit of pilots. And obviously, as these are voluntary agreements, and with that comes, a very delicate process to encourage some of our community partners to enter into one of these agreements. So, we had some conversations with the Collins Center, through the UMass Donahue Institute, and our other committee member, Karen Lee, who wasn't able to make it today. She's spoken with the Loan Institute, and all these organizations, they're really filled with, I guess you could say, policy wonks that really go into the deep data analysis of different organizations and different strategic initiatives in a way that maybe no one municipality might be able to go into. And so we've talked about that entertaining their services for a nominal fee may be beneficial to our efforts to help us strategize which entities we might want to discuss entering into a pilot agreement with, as well as more higher level, how should we constitute a permanent pilot committee, and what should be the various thresholds that we look at to come up with a comprehensive pilot policy in terms of the existing assessed value of a nonprofit or other non-taxed institution. So specifically, since we last spoke, as you mentioned, I did have a conversation with the Department of Local Services, because there is a communities grant that is offered annually, and it's specifically offered to municipalities that are interested in pursuing what I would call a municipal best practice. And so they offer grants. This is coming from DLS to municipalities on an annual basis, and it's on a first come, first serve basis to help municipalities pursue a best practice. And so there's a whole lot of different best practices that are listed on their website that I won't go into, but really any department in any municipality could go after one of these grants. But one of them is related to what I would call financial discipline. And in speaking with DLS, they didn't explicitly list the creation of pilot agreements as a subcategory. But when I spoke to their contacts, they made it very clear that, if our goal, if our initiative was to seek outside assistance to help establish, a permanent strategy to pursue pilots, that would very much fall in line and would be eligible for the grant. So, from our perspective right now, Mr. Chairman, what I'm hopeful that we can do is begin to engage with someone in the city that works as a grants writer, so we can start to be prepared to put this together, because the application period for this year has closed. The applications generally open up again around August 1st, so that would be in 2025. And as I mentioned, they're first come, first serve. So I suspect that the municipalities that reap the benefit of this grant the most are the ones that are prepared, say in May, June, July, with their full application ready to go, so that when they get formal notification that the grant period is open again for application, that they're submitting it, on the first day or close to it. And the only thing I will say is that the signatory, for a lack of better words, for the application of this grant has to be the executive of the city. So we would need to gain the mayor's support in pursuing this funding with whatever entity we go forward with. So let me just close in saying, I mentioned two organizations, the Collins Center and the Loan Institute. I think it might be appropriate over the next couple of months to meet with those groups and maybe have them come in and say, this is what we could offer you. And, then we could kind of decide which entity we might want to work with. I know I mentioned previously that because the Collins Center is a byproduct of the legislature, if we worked with them, similar to what Holyoke is doing, we could bypass some of the different procurement requirements that states and municipalities have. But that's part of a broader conversation of us trying to find out who would be the best partner to work with. So I know I've said a lot. My apologies, Mr. Chairman. So I'll stop there and see if you have any questions.
No, that's quite all right. Jay, quick question. Is there an amount limit that the maximum that we can apply for?
Let me verify that. They did not share that with me, but I have some good contacts now, so I can go right back to them.
Okay.
But just to provide context, from my recollection, I believe that the city of Holyoke's agreement with the Collins Center, to help them, pursue pilots was something like $14,000. So it's relatively not a huge amount of money.
Right.
I think that's one of the reasons why the Collins Center really pursues its skill sets with municipalities, because it's perceived to be a good deal. But I'll verify that, Mr. Chairman, and report that back out.
All right, thank you. And now, Jay, so you talked about the August 1st will be the 2025 will be the next time that the application process will open up. And of course, on August 1st, we want to put an application just to be, because you say it's the first time, first come, first serve basis.
That's right.
Right. Now, if I may, Kathy, because I don't foresee us saying no to other people's money. Is that something who can we work with in the city to?
In our department, we have Sequoia Malone, and I think you've met him on the finance committee meetings. And he works with grants, so he would, and I believe we've gotten this grant in the past for different things, but he would be absolutely, would be the one you could work with.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. So Kathy, I'm gonna follow up with you offline.
Yeah.
Maybe we can put Saikon. His name is
Sequoia,
Sakoy.
Malone.
Sakoy Malone. In contact with Jay and
Yep.
myself, and then we can make that happen. And have it ready so that August 25th, we can just hit send and send the application.
Yep.
And I'm sure then Jay, you're gonna get back to us in the maximum that we can apply for, correct?
Yep, that's no problem.
Excellent, excellent. Good. Thank you, Jay. Great work like always. Anybody has any questions regarding this?
Excuse me, Counselor, I think Tim, my phone wants to enter the
Oh,
waiting room,
sure.
is in the waiting room. Assuming that's.
Sure. Good afternoon, Tim. Is that Councilor Allen? I believe that's what it is. Okay. Councilor Allen, can you hear us, sir?
muted.
You might be muted, Councilor Allen.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you fine. That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Excellent. Anything else, Jay?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Any questions for Jay? Any feedback? Anybody wants to share? No? Okay, good, good. Now, in terms of where we are, I think we've done a lot of work. We got this going with the DLS to potentially apply for the grant. We have also identified, which I mentioned before, when the pilots expire, there's really nothing that the city has right now to go back to them and say, hey, would you like to re-up for this? That's something that Assessor Patrick Greenhall's working with Jay Latorre to close that loop. So we don't want to leave any money on the table. But also with regards to making a decision as to how we're going to approach people and when is something that should be in the future, very near future, discussed. I know that there's a lot of things happening, but they're all good for the city, and we need to. I got Councilor Goban. Good afternoon, Councilor Goban. Welcome. Can you hear us, Councilor Goban?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, welcome to the meeting, Councilor. And
Thank
so a decision as to who, when, and who, when, and who's going to sit at the table to have this conversation, something that I encourage everybody to think about as we progress into this endeavor. With that being said, we also talked about in the past the potential creation of a permanent pilot subcommittee and what that would look like. Unfortunately, Karen is not here today to give us a quick look at that. She had provided to us a draft, which I believe you all got, right? I believe. Let's see, Jay, do you have can you recall the mission? Yeah, here it is, I think.
Yeah. If you give me a minute, Counselor, I might be able to pull it up, but I
Yeah,
without having in front of me, I think as you alluded to, Karen and a number of committee members worked on, basically a recommendation on who should be approaching, various nonprofits in the city to enter into a pilot, right? Because the pilot agreements that we have right now in the city, at least as best as I can understand, they seem the term I would use is reactionary, right? Maybe there was some sort of land transaction that took place, or maybe that entity approached the city because they were pursuing some sort of initiative, and that sparked up the conversation of a pilot agreement. And of course, those who work for the city and who have been involved in this for a long time would be in a better position to speak to this. But I think the idea is to develop a permanent standing committee that is more proactive, and of course, you would need to have individuals from all across, the municipality to provide input on the who we should approach, and then potentially a separate team that would make the ask, right? So I'm trying to pull it up right here from my phone. I'll get it to you, but you can imagine, someone from assessors, someone from finance, someone from economic development. We talked about community involvement. We talked about a standing member from the city council. And I'm sure there's other entities that come to mind. I can make sure that this gets sent to you, counselor, so that we can send it to everyone else to kind of re-review.
Right, if you could do that for me, it would be deeply appreciated so that we can send to a full review, because we need to come up to a consensus on that. Because as we move forward, we need to have like a more, we need to start shaping this a little better, I think. We're all doing a good job so far, but I think as we progress, we need to start putting some of the ducks in place. Any thoughts on this? Anybody? No? Okay, very well. So those are the two items that I had today to really discuss. Today.
May I interrupt you?
Sure, go ahead, Jay.
I apologize. I found the document quickly, and I just wanted to explain it to you verbally here. So what we talked about previously in establishing a permanent pilot committee, and these are notes. These are open to discussion, but you would have what we called an internal research committee, which is kind of the way this subcommittee is functioning right now. And we talked about I've already mentioned the key departments from the city of Springfield, a representative from the city council appointed by the president, and an appropriate number of residents that had the relevant feedback or experience in real estate, nonprofit work, finance, all those commensurate skills. And then we talked about a second tier, basically that this internal pilot committee could make recommendations to what we called the external negotiation committee, but I could summarize that to say the committee that makes the ask. And that committee would be, folks like the mayor, the CAFO, ECHO development director, head of the board of assessors, and the city council president or their designee, right? Because ultimately this is a negotiation, and I think it makes sense that the city puts its best face forward when making these asks, and the best way to do that is probably with the key leaders of the city, along with representation from the council. And maybe it makes sense to have a committee member on that externally facing committee to make that ask, but a community member, excuse me. But that's kind of the idea to everyone. You need some folks that are going to do the research, and then you need some folks that are going to do the ask. And
Right.
by doing that, you're doing it intelligently, and you're doing it, for lack of better words, sensitively to be successful.
Right. Now, Jay, refresh my memory. We have talked about some of the uses of that pilot revenue, correct?
Oh yeah, we've got a pretty expansive list, and again, I can send this out to everyone, but
Yes.
we've talked about some different initiatives that may not be funded, like the housing trust initiative. Karen Lee has talked about a ambulatory fund. Of course, being that it's November, and the city council is getting ready to review the tax rates for the next fiscal year. Property tax relief is always on the minds of individuals, but there's also Councilor Davila, we have met with some city departments that have kind of expressed, these are some of the things that we'd like to do, but we
The money.
can't currently do, well, without the money, some maybe nice to haves versus need to have. So
Right.
there's a lot of opportunities to divvy that out. And to your point, you could develop a committee structure that tried to allocate successful pilot agreements and the funds that come into the city from that, to these various initiatives in an
I think you got cut off, Jay.
I apologize. My last point was basically that your pilot committee, your internal committee, the way you set it up, you could give them a mandate, for lack of better words, to say, when we are successful of negotiating new pilot agreements, this is where we recommend the funding goes to most benefit the needs of the city and the departments and the residents.
Right. Okay. Kathy, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I think he's right on the committee will have to come up with that, if we're successful on negotiating the pilots at that time. But I think we first need a mechanism and of how we're gonna roll this out, how we're gonna approach the nonprofits, et cetera. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's step two. If we can get that rolled out and approach them, then what, is there targeted things we wanna do with that money? Versus just put it into the general fund. And of course, that will be recommendations to the mayor.
Right.
But I don't think it's a bad thing to target some of them. It may make the nonprofits we're approaching, if they know where the money's going, they might be more inclined to
Absolutely.
continue having the conversation with us.
And I think that any other program or initiative that might come out that might complement this is a welcome thing. But we I think with the pilot, itself, we need to continue to have the structure so that we can re-up them and asking people. There's a lot of creative way that things could be done on this. And I think that I agree that people tend to be more inclined to feel more comfortable with knowing exactly where the money is going to. And so, but initially we have talked about how all this came about was because of the last couple of years, we've been having this horrendous discussion back and forth about property tax and property tax relief. And at some point, we need to start looking at this more realistically because, although we are in the black, that money could be spent and go through very quickly. All we need is a disaster or the economy to take a bad turn and there, could be a problem. So I think that, and at the time I suggested, to create some sort of fund that we can use our money to continuously use the dividends of that into offsetting into tax relief. And if the mayor chooses to, with our encouragement, of course, to throw or to place more money into property tax relief, then so be it. But at least that we have something to count on, whatever that might be. So that's where we are. It seems like we have many directions we can go here. Which is good. So any thoughts, anybody? I would love to hear some thoughts. Mr. President, do you have some thoughts you want to share? Anything that you feel comfortable?
No, I think it's important work. I'm here to support the work. And, like you said, Mr. Chairman, I think if we can get more participants in the program, do it in a more systematic and organized way, and then work with the administration on appropriate ways to incentivize raising that money and putting it towards appropriate uses is really the mission of the committee. I want to thank everybody for their hard work on it throughout the year.
Very well, very well. Okay, any other thoughts? Councilor Govan.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you so much. I'm sorry I haven't been to many of these meetings in the past. I've been, of
You're
course,
welcome.
busy, probably just like everyone else, but I'm really glad that that you're doing this, Mr. Chair. And I really like Kathy's idea about, letting the nonprofits know where the money's going, because then, like she said, they'll be more invested and interested in, helping the city out. And of course, my champion issue is the property taxes for our residents. And if that's something that we can help them with, I think that's something that we need to do. So thank you very much for doing this, and I thank the committee for continuing the work. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you. Thank you, Councilor Gabon. Anybody else? No. Very well. With that being said, we do have the task factor meetings coming up, I believe, Kathy. Do you recall those days?
There's one tomorrow.
There's one tomorrow.
A subcommittee meeting, tomorrow at 4:30.
Is that with Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Okay, so Councilor Allen, your meeting is tomorrow at 4:30 here to talk about the tax factor. Okay, can you hear me, Councilor Allen?
There, how's that?
Okay, so I just confirm it, so the people at home that are watching, just confirm it tomorrow, there's gonna be a finance meeting, committee to talk about the tax factor, correct?
Yeah, it'll be the first meeting. Second meeting is, so first meeting tomorrow, second meeting next Tuesday. Tomorrow won't have a lot of info in it. We'll be talking about the process and what we have to do. Next Tuesday, we'll have some more info to work with from DOR that
Yeah.
Patrick will bring to us. So we'll have two meetings, one this week, one next week, and then the following Monday, 2 weeks from tomorrow, from yesterday, I mean, that's when we'll start to discuss
Understood.
the real numbers, et cetera.
Very well.
And so, and those meetings those are city council meetings, and they're set up for Monday and Tuesday of that week, 25th and 26th.
Okay. And that's gonna be available by YouTube on the Springfield Municipal Channel, correct?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that's the Springfield Municipal Channel. If you type in a YouTube Springfield Municipal meetings rather, it should come up, and people at home can watch the meeting tomorrow and next Tuesday.
Good. I'll check with the council on that.
And just to
But-
keep, go ahead, Councilman, go ahead.
But that's the approach. There's two committee meetings of the tax committee, if you will, of the finance committee. Tomorrow and next Tuesday, we get all of our discussions in about different thoughts about economic trends and tax trends and all that sort of thing. And then the discussions about with real numbers start the Monday of Thanksgiving week. And hopefully we can do what we need to do Monday, if not Tuesday.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor Allen.
Sure.
Very well. And just so to put things into perspective here, why am I bringing this up about tax factor as it relates to the pilot? Because we're gonna be making a decision about the tax factor and basically your property taxes, how much you're gonna pay into your property taxes. And we all know that's been difficult in the past couple of years. And the more money the city has, the more money the city can raise, i.e. through the pilot or any other initiative. It will hopefully alleviate your pocket and alleviate your property taxes. Because at the end of the day, we need to keep the core services running. We need to make sure that the police, fire, library, DPW, they all funded because you do deserve as a citizen to have good service. And it will put less pressure, not only on the city, but you, the taxpayer at home. So this work, it's critical, something that cannot be done with any of you here in the room, people that are really engaged in this, and for that I thank you. So it is now 2:15. Those are the items that I wanted to basically discuss today. We do have one more meeting coming up in December. Jay, can you make a contact with DLS and have the people come in and just give us a quick presentation as to what they do and their services so that people at home can understand what's going on?
Yeah, no problem on that, Mr. Chairman. Do you happen to know the date it would be? I'm presuming it'll be a Monday. And if you don't know right now, that's okay. We can connect
Yeah, it
offline.
will be,
If
you give me a quick second, I might be able to pull it off real quick. You're right, it will be a Monday. Let me see.
I'm thinking maybe it's gonna be the 9th of December. That's the
Oh,
second Monday in December.
You might be correct. Let me see. I'm making sure that, yeah, the second Monday, December 9th is the next meeting. Yeah,
Okay,
it's gonna be at, same time, 1:45
okay.
here.
Yep,
Okay, and then,
I can make that.
sure, and I'm gonna work with Kathy, with the CAFO to get you the contact for, I always cannot pronounce his name, my apologies. Sequoia, with Sequoia. So that you can have a conversation with him, because I really want to pursue this money. I want to use other people's money, for the betterment of the city of Springfield. Very well. Any final thoughts before we conclude today? Ideas, complaints, frustrations? Nothing?
You take
We
all
don't
that
have
stuff?
time
Dick?
for that.
Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to help you with those, Tammy, but I will take it. So anyways, thank you to all of you, and, thank you all for participating. God bless. Meeting
Thank you.
adjourned.
Bye-bye.
God bless.
Bye.
Thanks, Counselor. Thank you. Take care.